One, two, three, 4, 5. Good afternoon. I'll need legal to confirm a quorum since they count better than I do, okay? And with that, a quorum is established. I'm calling to order the City Council work session agenda for this February 18th meeting. A quorum is established. We're going to have an abbreviated work session, starting with our organizational updates. We will skip the IRs, but if you have questions for the IRs, you can direct them to our city manager because the first presentation will be from Casey Best. And with that, we'll take on organizational updates, the abbreviated way.
So Leanne has the first.
If you're with Leanne and you've been updated, you can join her at the podium.
Mayor Pro Tem and council, members of the public, I am proud today to use this opportunity to recognize and celebrate Harvey Fry. He is a senior assistant city attorney for the city of Fort Worth, and he has reached the distinguished milestone of 50 years as an attorney. So Harvey was recognized with other attorneys. You see there at the top at the Tarrant County Bar Association luncheon this month. And then the mayor was gracious enough to come to our office for our in-office celebration for him and present him with a recognition. And he keeps joking that we're only celebrating him because he got old, but I've assured him that is absolutely not the case. We have so much respect and honor for Harvey. He attended Furman University and graduated from the University of South Carolina Law School in 1975. And then was licensed to practice law in the state of Texas that same year. He actually came to work for the city attorney's office in 1976. Believe it or not, the practice of law was very different then. And then he stayed through 1985, went to private practice for a little while and returned in 2006 and has been with us since for a combined total of 28 years and counting in service to the city of Fort Worth. He's a top-tier litigator. He keeps his cool. He practices law with high ethics, good character, consummate professionalism. I hold him up as an example to all of the young lawyers in our office. I've heard it said that once you reach a certain level in your career and in leadership, everybody's got the same amount of knowledge. Everybody's got pretty much the same amount of skill. But what matters is how you practice and how you do that. And Harvey is one that just exemplifies this point just about better than anybody. He does it with such character. And so please join me in congratulating Harvey for 50 years in the law and for his service to the city of Fort Worth.
Thank you, Leanne. You're far too kind, and thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and council.
And Harvey, you know, I call you the street fighter. That's right.
We have had some good experiences.
Yes, we have indeed.
The Chapter 125 area. So,
absolutely.
So it's far more than I deserve, but thank you very much.
Congratulations, Harvey.
Next up, I'm calling Jess McGurkin. I said that right? Close? McAkron. I haven't got it yet. To bring up our new Park and Rec director.
Thank you. It's the second time today, but we're going to get there. We're going to get there for sure. Mayor and council, I'm going to introduce Dave Lewis in just a moment. But before I do that, I really want to recognize too Richard Zavala. So we all know the infamous Richard Zavala. He has been leading the Parks and Rec department for 33 years. And last fall, he decided, you know, it's really time to retire and focus on his golf game. So Richard is with us through the end of April, but he recently, in fact, has come up to the city manager's office. You'll hear more about that here in just a moment. But first, let me thank Richard. We are also going to recognize him at a later date, so we're going to give some more attention to Richard. But please join me in thanking him for his 33 years of service.
Got a heckler from the council.
So we knew that replacing somebody with 33 years of leadership to the Park and Rec Department was a very big, critical decision for us. We hired Mosaic Public Partners to lead a recruitment, national recruitment. They brought us some really outstanding candidates, and we put them through a very grueling and intensive interview process because we really knew it was important to make sure that we find the best and the brightest to lead our Parks and Rec Department into the future. And so today it is my absolute honor and privilege to introduce to you our new Parks and Rec Director, effective yesterday, Mr. Dave Lewis. To tell you a little bit about Dave, and then I'll turn it over to him for a few remarks. So Dave joined our city in 2019 as the Assistant Director over the Golf and Athletics Division. He has served in several roles, though, since that time, including serving as Interim Director while Richard was on a special assignment for the city. When I first got here, in fact, I worked with Dave for the first year that I was here, and then Richard was able to come back and take the reins of the department. Most recently, Dave has been serving as the Deputy Director, where he oversaw administration, golf and athletics, and recreation. He also brings a wealth of experience and ideas from his prior positions, most recently or right before with the Metropolitan Park District of Tacoma, Washington, where he was Deputy Director. He also worked for a professional baseball team at one time as well, and so I've really enjoyed hearing a lot of the stories from Dave in his past. Dave holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Communications from Eastern Washington University, but he quickly realized that Texas is his home, and that's where he came to be. Dave serves on several state and national associations related to the park and rec industry, and he also was instrumental in working with our parks team to achieve our CAPRA certification that we recognized to y'all just last fall. You will hear more from Dave in the coming months ahead about the new vision for the Parks and Rec Department and about a lot of the initiatives that have been underway, most notably, which we're going to share with y'all in April, I believe, about the Greenprint Fort Worth, our new Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Master Plan that we're very excited to unveil. And then just a reminder about what a big portfolio this is and the importance of our city. Our Parks Department right now maintains 305 parks, more than 13,000 acres, and public spaces citywide. They also provide recreational activities and educational programming that make Fort Worth an amazing place to be. Dave.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, Mr. City Manager. I am incredibly honored and humbled to have this opportunity. She mentioned when I came to Fort Worth 5 years ago, it didn't take me long to really understand this is a special place, and I am honored to be able to play a bigger role in the future. We've got some incredible opportunities coming together, as she mentioned, with Greenprint, our new department master plan, the mayor's Good Natured Green Space Initiative, as well as some new aspirational strategies. We're really looking forward to that, and we know it's going to take a lot more community involvement for our park system to get where we want it to be, and that is our vision is to be recognized as the #1 park system in the country. No small task, but we can get there. The opportunity is here, and our time is now. So I look forward to working with each of you more.
Congratulations, Dave.
Next up, I'd like to invite Roger Venables to come up and give us a little information about Meacham and some of the recognition coming there.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council, City Manager Chapa. No doubt you may have peeked into those bags to see that we are celebrating 100 years of aviation at Meacham International Airport. Established in July of 1925, we're going to be celebrating a century of providing aviation services to the community. You know, I could talk at length about some of those achievements over that century, right? The early mail delivery and passenger service that we've accommodated at Meacham, right through the jet age and where we stand today, really poised to take in the next evolution of aviation and advanced air mobility. But there are some other folks that wanted to share some of their thoughts and tell a little bit of the story of Meacham Airport. So.
When we think of Texas, you know, we think of, you know, cowboys and cattle drives, and that's all true and all good. But the aviation heritage here at Meacham and in the surrounding area is incredibly rich. Aviation in itself is only 121 years old. and we've been here for 100 years.
I think first you have to talk about the context of the city of Fort Worth being 175 years old and the importance of aviation to our entire history as a city. At its inception, Mayor Meacham, of course, creating this place that's now 900 acres, really one of the most successful general aviation airports in the entire country.
Built by Texans, built by, those people in Fort Worth and in the surrounding area.
Amon Carter was very aggressive in getting both airmail and passenger service into Meacham to help Fort Worth grow and compete with Dallas. My parents had a company here that they started in 1939 called American Flyers. It was a flight training company. And I grew up around airplanes.
This hangar, the most famous hangar in the entire state of Texas, is essentially the birthplace of American Airlines. It was built in 1933, shortly after American Airways became what they are today.
This airport exists only because of the private-public partnership that exists to make it successful. The businesses that call Meacham home, the other aviation hubs and FBOs, we wouldn't be here without their partnership, and certainly because of the leaders that came before me that were dedicated to making sure we protected Meacham.
No one thinks of Fort Worth, Dallas area as an aviation community. Yet 1 in every 5 jobs is aviation related.
Fort Worth was very cooperative. All the owners felt like this was their private airport. So, they'd build their own hangar.
We started in 1978 with 2 hangars, and now we've grown to 25.
Honestly, any major artist that's now flying in to play at Dickies Arena is probably flying in to Meacham as well. But then importantly, we've hosted some very important business leaders across the globe. And when they come to Fort Worth and they land at Meacham and they see this place in the middle of the city that's been protected and also has such a rich history, it really does contribute to their overall visit.
Fort Worth is a dynamic city. Therefore, the airport has to be a dynamic airport.
Meacham over the years has evolved into a center for business jet aircraft.
The world's changing, lots of opportunity for growth. Corporates want their own private airplanes. So just that opportunity alone is unmeasurable, really.
We continue to get federal grants that enable us to improve existing airfields, make extension to those airfields, and in fact, in our upcoming airport master plan, we're going to replace the current air traffic control tower. And that's a big investment. And again, it points to the future of more operations here at Meacham.
I think the sky's the limit, quite frankly, pun intended, right? As you kind of think about the future of Meacham and its success that we've built in the last 100 years and where it goes into the future.
I've seen commercial airlines go from propellers to jets, from small jets to very large jets, from transonic to supersonic. Today, almost everybody I know takes an airplane ride for granted. And so we become kind of passive and blasé about progress. The progress in the future will be stunning. We'll be flying faster and further and higher. All we have to do is be committed to the future.
I'd like to take a minute and thank Visit Fort Worth for helping collaborate in the making of that video. I think a lot of things were summed up in that video over a short period of time, right? And if we think about Meacham today, when you look at the 2,600 general aviation public use airports in the United States, Meacham ranks 16th busiest airport of those general aviation airports. So it's a pretty remarkable achievement to go from a dirt runway on original 100 acres of the airport to where it is today. But the celebration doesn't stop here. We've got a number of events planned over the course of this year. The first of which is coming up on April 26th. We are partnering with the Fort Worth Aviation Museum. They hold an annual event, their Hops and Props event. This year, we're going to be kind of the marquee of that event to celebrate Meacham's 100 years. I would like to take a minute and thank Jim Hodgson. I think Jim's out there with the Fort Worth Aviation Museum. A couple of things for Jim. One, in January, he gave us a Wings Award, the city of Fort Worth and the aviation department, to recognize what they do every year. They give out a Wings Award to recognize individuals and organizations that have made a significant contribution to aviation, particularly in Fort Worth. And again, they've provided us with that award this year in recognition of Meacham's 100 years. And again, for his collaboration and partnership and allowing us to be a part of his event in April. So hope everybody comes out. It's a great event, lots of music, food. Happens from noon to 5. We'll have more come out, a little more detail about it. We've got another one planned in October. We have another aviation museum out here, Vintage Flying Museum. They have a hangar dance every October, and Ms. Chucky Hospers has allowed us to collaborate, be part of that event, and then maybe something in between, a little bit special. So again, I'd like special recognition. The cookies that are in your bag, pretty amazing, right? Well, those are provided voluntarily by our real estate manager in the aviation department. She's extremely talented, Barbara Goodwin, and so she provided those cookies today and made those. So again, thank you.
I've got the last item. So I just wanted to quickly provide an overview of the email that I sent out to the city council last week with the reorganization of the city's organization. And basically what you see there is I've changed the portfolios for the assistant city managers to be tied closely together with how departments, where the departments work. So in essence, growth and infrastructure is together, public safety is together, internal service funds closely together, and community and neighborhoods departments, oriented departments together. The idea is to potentially get more synergy across those, have one assistant city manager over all those like departments so they can maybe look from a higher view of what those departments are doing and see how they can better collaborate. And then this is an interim step because currently now I have 11 direct reports to the city manager. And so it's a little fitting that I have 11 bosses and then 11 direct reports. So it kind of balances it out. But really long-term, it's probably too many direct reports to deal with. But as we go forward, I will be making additional changes. As was mentioned earlier, Richard Zavala moved to the interim assistant city manager until he does retire and moves away from the city. In the meantime, we will be opening that position up to fill it. I just wanted to share that so that the public would see that there was the reorganization happened, and I don't know if the council has any questions or.
Yeah, Jay, is that on the website yet where the public can see?
I am not sure. Yeah, we will put it up if it's not.
Okay, I think that'll be good. Any questions from council?
And then this next item I wanted to touch on is I think is one that more of you would be interested in. It's just a quick update on the police chief search with the overall timeline for filling the position. The RFP, the request for proposals, is out on the streets. It'll close on the 4th of March. It has been sent out to dozens of potential search groups. Once we get that in, we will go through those, narrow that down to the search team, outside search team that will start the process. We'll have time for them to meet with stakeholders, meet with council members, develop the profile that we want to see in the next police chief, and then they will put that out and start the search. This could go faster than it's listed. I wanted to make sure that we had a realistic timeline so that we do our due diligence. But you can see here that we're thinking that sometime in the summer is when we'd actually finish the process as we go forward. So I'd answer any questions you may have.
Yeah, Jay, I have one question. With this timeline, I believe our chief will be gone by then. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Do we have a process of having a chief step up in the interim process?
So I think our police department's really well equipped right now, and we have an executive chief that would more likely I would be asking to fill in as an interim
Okay,
as we go through this process.
thank you.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Oh, I have one more item. I just want to make it public, and I think it's already out there, but Robert Stearns, I'm not sure if he's here or not. He will be leaving the city,
Short timer.
and he wanted to congratulate him publicly on his being appointed as the next Tarrant County Workforce Board Executive Director. And we will have to go through that process as well as finding a new Economic Development Director as we move forward. So, thank you.
Congratulations to Robert. Thank you, sir. Okay. We've got a presentation from Casey on the Neighborhood Improvement Program announcement. Casey Bess.
All right, it is NIP Announcement Day. We're going to try and build this up like signing day or draft day, bring some excitement around it. So 2017 was our first NIP area program, and since that time, you all, the City Council, have invested over $35 million in, as of this year, 10 neighborhoods. Back in 2023, there was an effort to bring some structure around the neighborhood improvement program. And so out of that effort came this 3-year program. And so the idea was that we would start off identifying all of the neighborhoods and ranking them. In year 1, we would focus on the basics. We call it the clean and safe activities. So doing trash cleanup, also looking at security cameras and low cost, low effort projects like that in year 1. In year 2, we would take some of the input that we were getting from residents and do more capital intensive projects. And then year 3, this is the effort where kind of the area where we have a lot of room for improvement, is where we really engage the community in having them take on the revitalization of the neighborhood long term. And so based on that, in terms of ranking all of our neighborhoods, right now we have 3 categories. We have the financial hardship category, which includes poverty and house burden households. We also have our opportunity category, which looks at how many bachelor's degrees or above are in a neighborhood. And then our neighborhood condition, which includes crimes, substandard structures. It looks at sidewalks. And so all of these categories right now are equally divided, 30 points each for a total of 90 points. I will be sharing later, we have a proposal for revising this matrix, because one of the things that we wanted to put more emphasis on is the neighborhood condition and the safety of the community, and make sure that we were really targeting those neighborhoods that are really distressed. And so that I will be sharing with you in a little bit. But based on the current matrix right now, this shows the 3 different categories. And so when we're looking at the reds or the pinks or the purples, that identifies our more distressed neighborhoods. And you'll see as of now, in terms of financial hardship, we have that spread out across the city. The areas that are in orange and highlighted in red, those are our current NIP areas. And so you'll see that we're slowly, gradually attacking all of those areas that are distressed and bringing some revitalization to those communities. Our opportunity score, again, this looks at education. And so in this category, you'll see that there are a lot more neighborhoods that are in the reds, purples, and pinks, particularly on the east side. And that's north and south. And then as far as our neighborhood condition score, this is the one where we don't have as much red or purple, red, pinks, or purple, but we do have some pockets there. And then finally, when we combine all three of those categories together, we ended up with kind of our top 4 most critical neighborhoods. And just going clockwise, we have Woodhaven, which is in the top right corner. Woodhaven is in the top right. Fairhaven is in the bottom right. And then Morningside, and then Northside North. And so we did have 2 neighborhoods that tied for second place, Northside North and Woodhaven. Fairhaven was the #1 ranked as far as those different categories, and then Morningside. And so based on that, for 2025, the neighborhood that we are proposing to focus on is Fairhaven. This is our first neighborhood that we are working on that actually crosses 2 council districts. So we have Councilmember Martinez and Mayor Pro Tem Bivens districts. And then it shows one of the things that you may notice is that within this area, there aren't a lot of city amenities within the actual neighborhood. There are some surrounding. You have Eugene McCray Community Center and Park, and then you have a number of different parks. But actually within Fairhaven, there's only one small park, which is Edgewood Park. And I'll be talking about later, because one of the things when I was talking to the staff is wanting to identify when we're going into a neighborhood, what are the resources that are available there? Not only just from a city amenity perspective, but what are the grocery stores? Where are the bus stops? Where are the churches and all of those different organizations that could potentially help us long-term with bringing revitalization to the community? And so they have been able to develop a tool that we will be able to see some of those resources and be able to find out more, learn more about the neighborhood. And then we have a quick video that we're going to show.
The Fairhaven neighborhood has been David Farrell's home since 1970. He's seen 55 years of growth and changes in Southeast Fort Worth.
It was a very, very clean neighborhood. Now it's gotten bad, and it's getting better.
David likes the changes he's seen lately. He loves the Eugene McCray Community Center and has enjoyed seeing trash abatement.
In the last 3 or 4 months, it has improved. It's improved maybe more. And I'm glad to see that.
This tract sits between 2 council districts, District 5 north of Barry and District 11 south of Barry. While meeting with other residents at the East Barry Branch Library, they expressed concerns of stray dogs, like this one we found at a local park. Although Ed has only lived here for a few months, he has the same insight as longtime residents like David.
I would say beautification without necessarily gentrification.
Beautification without gentrification. Summing up simply what the city plans to do. The city of Fort Worth is spending $4 million that will go towards capital investments to improve the quality of life for residents that live here by engaging with the residents and developing their dreams and ideas into neighborhood improvement. We've seen the success of this program before. Last year, the City of Fort Worth's Neighborhood Services Department went into 2 neighborhoods. They've also been seen improving the Las Vegas Trail neighborhood. Check out our videos to see the progress, like the cleanup of the street's litter, sidewalk improvements, and intersections that make it easier to walk and get to school. They have added roundabouts and cameras to prevent crime.
Fix anything that needs to be fixed.
So look out for community meetings and survey takers in the coming months who want to hear your opinions. We'd love to see you at an upcoming block party event, because Fairhaven has charm and now it has help.
So I want to thank our communications team who was able to put that video together. And then I also forgot to mention the Neighborhood Improvement Program. This isn't an effort that is just handled by the Neighborhood Services Department. We have some really great partners, code compliance, park and recreation, environmental services, transportation, and public works. And so they are all really great partners in making sure these projects get moved forward. The next few slides I have are just some representative examples of things that could be done in Fairhaven or some of the things that we could potentially look to tackle. And again, we always want to make sure we include resident feedback as part of this program. But you'll see as far as litter abatement, alleyways that are grown over. We also have some sidewalks that have been grown over and are hard to walk on. And then also just looking in terms of the condition of the homes and some of the bulky trash that are located in front of those homes. So kind of what's next? So we are going to be kicking off our clean and safe activities. Those are be underway. Those are typically the same across all of the different neighborhoods, and they allow us to do some quick activities that are visible to the neighborhood. They see activity happening fast. We will also be, as we have with all of the previous neighborhoods, be forming a NIP stakeholder group, and that's where we bring in the residents together to talk about what they want to see happening in their neighborhood, as well as the council members to provide some input as well. And then going forward into the spring and summer, we will be having various block parties, kickoff events, and we'll use those events as an additional way to collect feedback from the residents. And then based on the feedback, we will put together a summary of these are the top projects that our neighborhood wants to see. And then we will provide that information to the department so then they can begin as far as year 2, which will start in October 2025, making some progress on those activities. One of the things that we are also looking at, I mentioned about reviewing our processes and procedures. We are working with our staff to figure out how can we condense these timelines so that we're moving faster, we're getting the NIPS closed out quickly. And in addition to that, I do want to discuss some enhancements that we're looking at. So as part of the data that we use, American Community Survey from the Census Bureau, it comes out every 5 years. And so we receive new census data back in December. And so we will be rescoring. So all of the census tracts that are remaining, we will be rescoring those. And as I mentioned, we will be looking at revising the scoring methodology. And so that, although I showed you kind of our top 1, 2, 3, 4 neighborhoods, those may possibly change based on the revised scoring. The other thing I mentioned to you all a few months back is that we are looking to bring on an implementation consultant that will help on the, not on the community engagement side of it, but they will help on more of the delivery, the program delivery side of it. And they will be working primarily with Park and Recreation Department and Transportation and Public Works on getting their projects on board. The other thing, and Brian will be here from the Code Compliance Department to talk about a brand new program that we're going to be piloting, not only with the Fairhaven project, but also with our fiscal year 24 neighborhood improvement projects. And that is a new mobile tool sharing program. And so that will allow residents who may have some code violations related to uncut grass, they will have an opportunity now through the city to get some tools. And so Brian will come up in a second to talk a little bit more about that. I mentioned our asset mapping tool, which I'm really excited about. And then I would like Robert Paz to stand up. So Robert Paz is our new neighborhood improvement coordinator. He has been located in the city of Fort Worth for almost a month now. He comes to us from the West Coast, from California. He has experience not only in neighborhood development and similar programs like this, but he also has an economic development background, which will be important when we're looking at that year 3 activities and really seeing how we can improve the neighborhoods long term. His experience will be helpful for that. And so I will bring up on Brian.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good?
Yeah.
They're really good at you saying it. We're good, right? We're good. It's great. We woke up. That's the hard part. I'm pretty excited to partner with Casey, and whenever they had seen previous presentations when I first got here, and many of you have reached out to me because previously I had worked programs with my team, and one of them was, a tool shed. And so I was like, hey, what a great spot to pilot it. And so we'll be doing Fairhaven. We'll also be doing Seminary and Worth Heights. Right now, that's the most I could allocate resources on the fly to pilot it. But it's exactly like it reads. There's no deposit. It is free. It is a mobile tool shed. So they go online, they need a mower and a weed eater, they fill out the form, check it out. Our staff goes out, drops it off, walks them through it, and we come back and pick it up on a Monday. And it's, I'm pretty excited about it. When you empower people, amazing things can happen. And so many of these people in these neighborhoods, it's not a matter of will. They have it, it's they don't have the resources available. And so I'm really, really excited. This is our flyer. We're gonna flood the neighborhoods and go around and give out the handout to every single one. It'll have a QR code that'll take them right there to be able to check it out. And we'll be tracking the success, and don't be shocked if you see a budget presentation for the whole city to do it. But no, I'm pretty excited, and it's a good way to connect. And we also are gonna coordinate with Casey on sort of whole neighborhood cleanups. And so don't be shocked if I'm bugging y'all to come out and help clean up these properties with us, because it takes all of us. And so I'm pretty excited about it.
And Brian, if you can share our community partners who are helping to support this program.
Yes, we've already got tools donated to us from Home Depot and from Lowe's, and we've also just got some monetary donations from Walmart as well. So that's the other part is they're also invited to these cleanups, and we went to all these businesses and explained to them, like, y'all are in this community too. I realize you're a private business, but you're in the community. And luckily, they've all been very receptive, and they plan on attending the cleanups and everything else. And so it's, I'm pretty happy.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian, before you step down, council members Martinez and Nettles and I are hosting an event on March 22nd. And I think it would be very beneficial if you plan on being there, especially with your flyers. We're doing this with Frost, and I think it's going to be a real good partnership. Jeanette or Chris, if you guys want to add anything.
Well, since you're putting that plug in, I have a town hall on February 22nd, if you could bring those there too.
I will be at both of them.
I have a question.
Yes.
I see your pilot program for fiscal year 24 and 25. When this hits the fan, I'm sure there's going to be other communities that want to participate in this program. What is your implementation timeline to bring more on board? Is this a cost that is affecting, is this a cost effect to the city of Fort Worth?
So there's a few different angles to look at that. Tangibly, we will be able to look at it where, I'll tackle the cost first.
Sure.
So on average, about a third of the properties that we have to deal with high grass that were actually posted for abatement, we will end up mowing. Obviously, if people are able to take care of their own violations, you don't have a dollar for dollar, but it will expand the capacity that we can mow because we now have these whole groups of people that are taking care of it. So there will be some expand on capacity / offset. And yes, it will take more resources and more employees that we'll have to put in a budget request for. We're piloting it for a reason. I hope for it to be successful, but if not, we're gonna track that the same way. But yes, it would ideally, if you wanted to do the entire city, it would be a pretty big budget ask of, depending on, probably additional 3 trailers and maybe 8 other people, something like that. But again, I got to see the capacity. I got to see what we're dealing with. I got to see how receptive the public is to it. I can't guarantee that they're going to want to do it. They may have some trepidation or what have you. But I can tell you that the effort that the staff has already put forward and what we're going to do in these neighborhoods, I'm already so excited. And I really think it's going to be successful. And I'll probably roll out a couple of different packages because I'm going to ask for the moon. That doesn't mean I'm going to get it, but you'll definitely have options. But no, in a perfect world, yes, I want to expand it citywide. I want all these tools to be available for them. Right now, it's only these 3 neighborhoods.
Yeah, well, I'm certainly supporting this project, this pilot program. I believe there's other areas, and I don't know if we've done a heat map to kind of figure out where these violations are mostly. But I know in the southern part, which is right neighboring Worth Heights, Morningside area, Fairhaven, close to Miller, other areas that also need this program. So if there's any additional thing that the city of Fort Worth can do, I'm speaking for District 8, if we can help push this in other areas, I'm asking for it. None of those I represent, but I appreciate what you're doing. Thank you.
I have one more question, logistical. So where are you going to store these tools and, just access-wise to the different neighborhoods? Are you going to put them at the community centers or the?
It's, sorry, can you?
No, go ahead.
Oh, no, the mobile tool shed is just that. It is a trailer full of them. So we are taking the shed to these properties, and they'll be stored at you know, if we were able to do every district, it'd be stored at the code office of each district. But yeah, that's one of the biggest things that, because this isn't the first time this has been done. However, when you survey other cities, there's two really big hurdles that I've seen, and it's a deposit and that it's not mobile. Well, when you're dealing in these underserved neighborhoods, what are our two biggest hurdles? Is it money? Is it transportation? Well, I mean, what are we doing? Let's take those away. And you know, at previous locations, it's been very successful, and I have no reason to believe that it won't be here, so I'm pretty excited.
Thank you.
Thank
Any other
you.
questions before Casey wraps up? Okay.
Oh, I have a couple more slides and then, but what I do like about the tool sharing program is that it ensures that the NIP program doesn't become stale. We've done a lot of the same projects every year, and so this is a way to bring in some new things to the program and make sure that each year we're doing something new and really taking it to the next level. So this is the asset mapping tool, and this is only just a few of the different categories that we can look at. But one of the things, for example, on bus stops, we can see where the bus stops are in Fairhaven. And so we can use this information when we're planning our pop-up events and things like that. We can make sure that we are scheduling those or hosting those in areas where people can access them. One of the other things that we looked at is banks and finance. And so you'll see that there's only one green dot for banks and finance, and that is actually a payday lending place. And so when you look at this neighborhood, they don't have any ATMs, any access to banking facilities. And so again, when we're looking at the 3 years out and some of the long term, we can look at what are some of the other resources this area looks at. And then also it identifies our local businesses and our churches. And so when we're planning activities and doing cleanups, these are the groups that we can now make outreach to and get them involved in the neighborhood program and really make it a community effort. So I talked about the revised scoring, and so I'll just jump ahead. So one of the things that you see here, we have now combined, so in the financial hardship category, we have added in the bachelor's, the education component to financial hardship. And we've also added unemployment as a measure of financial hardship. We have separated out safety and neighborhood condition only because we really want to find those neighborhoods that are hard pressed in terms of safety and the neighborhood conditions. And by separating them out into separate groups, they could potentially rank higher or get more points assigned to that. One of the other changes is previously under the scoring matrix, there was a total of 90 points that a neighborhood could get. Now they have a maximum of 100 points that they can receive based on this new scoring matrix. And that is the end of the presentation.
With the matrix that you have on this slide, was this used for?
No, this one was used for previous scoring. So previously, we didn't include unemployment, and we included crimes and neighborhood condition all in one category.
So the new matrix will be used for the next year?
Correct, for 2026.
Okay, and I think that's a good idea. I really appreciate your presentation. It was very thorough, highlights of the neighborhood. And I'll go back, and we had this conversation with Dr. Williams and I about, we used to do 2 neighborhoods. And I believe it's vitally important that we continue to do this improvement to these neighborhoods, because so many neighborhoods have been improved, such as Ash Crescent, Las Vegas Trail, and other areas. And I want, with the consultant that's coming online, will they also be looking to help us improve our ability to go back to 2 neighborhoods?
That is not part of their scope at this time, no. But we are planning to, as part of the fiscal year 2026 budget process, we will be submitting a request to request that the second neighborhood be added to the 26 budget. And so that will be part of the Neighborhood Services Department's budget request.
Okay. So I'll be looking for that, because I think it's important that we get back to 2 neighborhoods. I know we had some discrepancies of getting the job done for those. And can we get, and I know this may be a future agenda item, but can we get an update? I know you did it maybe a year ago on the neighborhoods who are still have money to be spent.
Yes, we will do that. We are actually doing a neighborhood improvement program newsletter twice a year. And so as part of that next version of the newsletter, we can include that information in there.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
Just
Jeanette?
comments. Casey, thank you so much. I'm really excited for Fairhaven. I assume they already know. Do they know?
There has been some soft outreach to, I think, the stakeholder groups, but overall, the neighborhood is not aware. So this will be
Okay.
their unveiling, so they will get to
Awesome.
know. And we will post the video and start pushing it out on our social media channels, as well as there will be a city news article on
And
it.
that was such a great video. Whose voice is that? Are they on staff?
That is, yes, that is Scott Daniels, and he is a former news reporter, so that's,
okay.
yes. He
Well, I look
does-
forward to working with Robert. You know, District 11 is here to work with neighborhood services in any capacity. So very excited and just, this is such a great opportunity for this neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Casey.
Thank you.
Next up, we'll have
just jealous.
Mr. Zeno with an annual comprehensive financial report and external audit results. Mr. Zeno.
Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. I'm
It
joined
will be brief.
today.
Sorry, we lose quorum at 2:30, and so I know you
Okay.
guys really get excited
Sure.
about numbers.
We'll try to make it brief.
Get to the punchline.
I'm joined today with Tony Russo from Finance, the Deputy Director of Finance. Today, we'll just go through a really brief, we'll go through this very briefly, but here we're trying to touch on primarily the accomplishments as well as the actual financial performance of the various funds for fiscal '24. And then we'll touch on the external audit results that were provided to the audit committee earlier this morning. And as you know, the annual financial report is used by several individuals outside of the city of Fort Worth. And it's obviously bond rating agencies, potential bond investors really pay close attention to the annual report, as well as residents and mayor and council. A couple of highlights for FY '24. The city continued the award for the certification of distinction for its investment policy. Of course, we ended the year with an unmodified clean opinion from the external auditors. We also, during the year, we were awarded Achievement for Excellence in Procurement. This was the first time the city has ever received that award.
Congratulations.
Also, the typical GFOA awards for financial reporting, which is handled in the finance department. And then, of course, the distinguished budget presentation that's also handled by Fort Worth Lab.
Alan?
So Reggie, Tony, once again, want to thank you for the tremendous effort made to get the external audit done in a timely manner while David Cook was still here to participate, and the incredible activity you and your team went through to ensure it was a smooth, seamless process. And congratulations all around.
Appreciate that. Thank you. The financials that you have at your desk are based on what's called a GAAP basis. And basically, it's promulgated through various rules through the GASB organization. And their revenues are recorded when they're earned versus the budgetary basis, which is the basis that we typically use on a regular basis. You'll see those reports coming out of finance as well as the Fort Worth Lab. And those have a different measurement focus with revenues and expenditures recorded as they occur. On an entity-wide basis, we ended the year with a positive $766.9 billion in additional resources, I'm sorry. This is primarily due to, several factors, some additional revenue. We had some decreases in the pension and the OPEB liabilities. We had some expenditures that actually increased, which all totaled approximately $766.9 million in additional net position for the city of Fort Worth as a whole. From the standpoint of bonded debt, $2.5 billion of current outstanding bonded debt, of which over 50% of that is related to sewage and water board, water and sewer. General fund at a glance, you've seen these numbers. These were presented by David Cook back in January, but generally the fund balance increased by 51 million. There were some GASB adjustments. Those are non-cash adjustments, but generally an excellent year within the general fund. You've seen this, the first column, the budgetary basis. Actually, David Cook presented this back in January. And we showed this as a crosswalk between the budgetary basis that we typically provide to council versus the GAAP basis, which is a requirement through the accounting rules. And there, within the GAAP basis for the general fund, we make the GAAP adjustments as well as we include the endowment gas lease. Culture and tourism, positive year, an additional 38 million in fund balance from various revenues and transfers. CCPD, again, slight increase to its net fund balance, and that's on account of excess of revenues over expenditures, and that's offset by some capital transfers out. Risk financing, still an issue. We ended the year with a $10.3 million deficit. It's shown quite an improvement over the last 3 years. We are, if you recall, council approved an additional $5 million transfer from the city's general fund, which actually will result in the deficit during 25 to be recorded at 5.3 million. There'll be additional discussions and information on the risk fund during the budget process. Water and sewer, as I indicated, a really great year. Additional fund balance, net position of approximately 277 million. It's primarily as a result of some additional capital contributions. Pension and the OPEB being the retiree health care. We saw a slight decrease in the unfunded liabilities for both pension as well as, well, pension is on this slide. Slight increase in the funded portion. But as you know, the annual actuarial report really will provide a better sense of the health of this fund. And that report will be finalized, presented to the retirement board, and then presented to council at the joint meeting sometime in either May or June. But good news on pension. OPEB, which is, as I indicated, retiree health care. We've seen, again, additionally, a slight decrease in the unfunded liability. And here with OPEB, we actually provide the health care benefits as a budgeted line item, primarily in the general fund. Just briefly, reserve compliance. We have ended 24 with a 22% unassigned fund balance, approximately 232.6 million. Within the governmental funds, all special revenue funds are in compliance. Within the governmental debt service category, all of the funds are in compliance. Within the enterprise funds, we have actually all funds are in compliance. Within the internal service fund, I just briefly talked about the risk fund. The only other area that really sits as in a deficit posture as it relates to the working capital would be the IT operations, and IT moved to the internal service fund in 23, I believe. And the director will be presenting a restoration plan during the budget process. Audit results, and I'll turn it over to Tony. This should be brief.
Okay, so the audits are performed in compliance with both Texas and federal grant management standards and relevant laws. The city received an unmodified or clean opinion from the auditors, which is the highest level of assurance that they can provide. And there were no audit findings, which are no material weaknesses or significant deficiencies noted or found. So here's the audit history. You can see in 2022, we had 1 finding, then 0 findings last year in 2023, and then 0 findings for 2024 again. And a material weakness is just a deficiency in internal controls such that there's a reasonable possibility that there's a material misstatement in the financial statements and they're not caught. And a significant deficiency is a deficiency that's not as severe as a material weakness, but yet it needs to be improved. So, and then to the right, there's just some grant information. So we have 288 active grants managed by 76 people in 20 different departments. Of the 151 million in grant expenditures, approximately 147.3 million is related to federal grants. And then we have 5 agreed upon procedures that are currently in progress, and we don't anticipate any issues from those.
And I think in closing, I'd just really like to celebrate the efforts of the finance department as a whole, but in particular, the financial reporting and accounting divisions within the finance department. And if you guys could just stand up just for a second.
Yeah, for sure.
Really an outstanding performance, but also great work by all of the various department heads and assistant directors and ACMs and those finance officials who perform their duties within the various departments have done a great job, as well as those grant managers who go through a lot of scrutiny with the single audit and in particular the external audit, and just a great job done. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for no significant deficiencies. Great to hear. Next, we'll hear from Chris Harder again, talking about the Fort Worth water system expansion and capacity improvement. Good afternoon again, Chris.
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. I'll move fairly quick through these slides. I'm going to prepare 3 things. One is usage projections, service area growth, and I'm going to be relying on a lot of the slides that we've already prepared for our impact fee study that will be presented to you here pretty soon. Talk about some infrastructure improvements on the west and the north side, and also talk about our conservation ordinance. So let's talk about some of the historical usage. The numbers you see at the bottom of those bar charts, those are in billion gallons, and that is what we produced on an annual basis. So you can see from fiscal year 21 to fiscal year 22, our annual pumpage increased by about 10 billion gallons. The chart that you see in the middle, that shows our average day usage. So when you see like in 2024, 219.5, that's 219.5 million gallons per day. And then when you look at the orange chart, that's our max day for the year. So we go from like in FY23, a 224.1 average day to a 414.2 million gallon per day max day. And to kind of put this in perspective, what our usage is during the winter is about 140 to 150. So it just goes to show you how influenced our usage is on by irrigation. So again, huge jumps between fiscal year 21 and fiscal year 22. And I will tell you that, we've really scratched our heads about this. When you look at 2022 and 2023, on the average precipitation for the year, we were under 30 inches in both of those years, which drives a lot of the overall annual usage. And then on top of that, we had some really high usage during the summers, which are generally driven by July and August precipitation. I'll say that number in 2021, that actually may have been the max day set during that winter storm in February 21, which was just 4 years ago. So these are some of the charts that we prepared as part of our impact fee study. These are the population projections. We look specifically 10-year growth, both retail and wholesale. And you can see here that we are anticipating over 300,000 increase in our population, our service area population, over the next 10 years. So think about the challenges of that. Providing water and wastewater service to an additional 300,000 people in a 10-year period. So what we do as part of the impact fee study is we actually take that population and create a number of equivalent units. And an equivalent unit is equivalent meter is normalizing population into an equivalent 3/4 by 5/8 inch meter. That's what is normally serves a residential lot. So those 300,000 population, when we normalize it, it's equivalent of providing service to about 158,000 residential lots. So substantial challenge in order to meet our population growth. And I will say, when you go between the water and the sewer, one of the reasons why it's a little bit higher on the water side is we have 23 wholesale customers on the wastewater side, and we have 33 wholesale customers on the water side. So let's talk about service area. I think what I want you to focus on is the pink areas. And actually, this presentation came out of a council request. And the request was to kind of look at the west side and the north side. And that's where we see most of the growth. And it's not just growth that is in our city limits or anticipated to be in our city limits. A lot of it is at ETJ growth. So I mentioned that we had 158,000 potential equivalent meters that are planned for our service area growth. I can count over 25,000 lots that are in some type of a development negotiation right now. So that growth is here. So that's kind of my lead-in to what are we going to do about it? So let's talk about the West Side system. You may recall that in 2012, we opened the West Side Water Treatment Plant. And so the way that we designed that is we designed a 35 million gallon per day structure, and we put in the equipment and the membranes for 12 MGD. And what it allows us to do is it expand fairly quickly in modular fashion by adding membranes. That plant currently is rated at 18 million gallons per day, and we will be coming to you with a council agenda item to buy another 8 million gallons per day of membranes to increase the plant capacity up to 26 MGD. We plan on doing that fairly quickly, like this spring.
Hey, Chris, on that map, what's the difference between the red and the blue?
So the blue is our existing lines, and what I had our GIS people do is just highlight the existing lines that are 24 inches and above in terms of diameter, so just our trunk mains. The red lines are the ones that are either in construction or being proposed. So I started off with the plant. We have a pipeline that goes all the way from the plant to this pump station. This pipeline is all in construction except for this one gap here. And we've bid this job, and we anticipate that going to council for approval on March 11th council date. So that would allow us to have an expanded plant, a new 42-inch line that goes to a pump station and a ground storage tank. This is basically done. You can see it as you drive along I-20. This line here goes over to our existing line. That's done. These lines through here go to two elevated storage tanks that are pretty much done as well. Now, this whole system has a capacity of close to 40 million gallons per day. So significant capacity. I threw in a couple of other lines through here. These are projects that we're coordinating with development, where the development may actually be taking the lead. So significant investment on the west side, over $100 million invested in this system. And the good news is that this system can probably come online in 2026. I need a customer in order to keep that system online, because we can't put major transmission mains in service until we have demand on them. you would have problems with water quality. But we do know that there's a lot of plans in Veal Ranch and Walsh Ranch and some of the surrounding areas, so we're hoping that all of this lines up pretty well in terms of development needs, our capacity. So I consider this to be good news on the water side. Wastewater side is a different ballgame, but I wasn't asked to present on the wastewater side. You know that we have a significant investment that we have to make on that Marys Creek wastewater plant, as well as lift stations and pipelines to get wastewater to that plant. So let's go on to, I call this the north side system, but what this really is a way to get water from our downtown to our north side that provides additional capacity. It allows some of the stranded capacity that we have at the Holly plants to be moved to the north side, and it provides additional redundancy. So who here remembers the main breaks that we had on Collier? I think that was last summer. So we now are in construction. Actually, I was meeting with Councilmember Beck about it yesterday. $20 million projects to replace a lot of the cast iron transmission mains downtown. In order to move water from downtown to the north, it requires us to pump at much higher rates, which increases pressure, which puts a lot of stress on our cast iron pipe. So what we've done here is right now we have an existing 54-inch line that goes to this north side pump station and then is pumped from there up to the north. Single feed, single point of failure. And actually we had a main break on this 54-inch just last week. Some contractor drilled into it, so it wasn't a pipe problem. What we have here is we have a dual functional plan that will replace cast iron and give us a loop that we can then use to pump water through this pump station to the north. So this will provide us much more capacity, and it provides us much more reliability and redundancy to our system. So this gets rid of this whole single point of failure situation. And on top of that, by having all this transmission loop, it will result in reduced pressure coming out of Holly, which will put less stress on our cast iron pipe. So this is a plan that we've been working on for the last 2 years. I really like this plan. It is expensive, but it eliminates a lot of the risk related to our cast iron. It gets more water to the north. So let's talk about the far north. We have the Eagle Mountain Water Treatment Plant, which is currently rated 105 million gallons per day. We have advertised a project. We are going to be taking bids on that project on April 3rd to expand this facility by 35 million gallons per day. And what we've done is we've used that West Side Water Treatment Plant template where we're actually building a structure for 50 million gallons per day, and we're going to put 35 MGD of membranes in initially. As development occurs in this area, we can add membrane skids to quickly increase capacity. There's a 54-inch line that's planned to go out of the Eagle Mountain plant. That 54-inch line has about 70 million gallons per day of capacity. This facility is master planned for 200 million gallons per day. So you can see that the investment that we're going to be making in the near term is going to allow us to serve a customer base for the next 20 years. This project alone is in the $200 to $250 million range. This pipeline, this 54-inch pipeline, is about $100 million cost. We've actually bid from FM 1220 up to Bonds Ranch Road over 18,000 feet. That goes to council on the 25th of February, $32 million price tag. We have already bid out and in construction on this elevated tank, on this elevated tank. There's a 5 million gallon ground storage tank that will be accompanying an existing ground storage tank in the Sendera facility. That will advertise for bid on March 3rd, I believe. And then this right here is a 24-inch line that will allow us to be able to pump directly from this pump station all the way to this tank here, which will significantly improve our capacity. So you heard Reggie talk about The water and wastewater system was about 51% of the city's total debt. Obviously, we're going to be spending a lot of money to plan for growth in the next just a couple months. So one of the issues here is that you saw those demand charts on the first slide that I showed there. We went up by 10 billion gallons just a couple years ago. The demand on the north side is critical. So, you know, when we're bidding this project out, we're actually, when we do the evaluation, we're going to be giving extra points for early completion, right? Because getting these facilities installed as quickly as possible is critical. And just how critical, right now we actually have developments that are dependent on this 54-inch line. So they want us to get that line installed as quickly as possible. And, you know, you have these demands that are stepping out. You have this population growth that is just substantial. One of the things that I've talked about with council before is we've had a water conservation and irrigation ordinance that had been on the books for 10 years. Previous to the remote read meters, really the only way to enforce it is to actually put eyes on the customer showing that they're in violation of the ordinance. This is just the violations that we saw on the north side. This is only the north side pressure plane, just the north side pressure plane. And one of the things I thought I'd mention is, you see these red dots here? This is from June of 24 to August of 24, greater than 100,000 cubic feet used. That's 750,000 gallons of water that was used contrary to the conservation and irrigation ordinance.
Are those the people who got the little nasty postcards about?
Yes, those are the people
Okay.
that got the postcards. And you may recall that this last year, you all approved our ability to provide administrative fines for irrigation violations. Those aren't meant to be punitive. Those are meant to correct behavior. And those
Oh.
fines are $25 for the first offense, $50 for the second offense, $75 for the third offense.
Thank you for the clarification.
And we're hoping that what we will be able to present after the summer of 2025 is a completely different graph than what I'm showing you right now, or chart than what I'm showing you right now. Take any questions?
Any questions of Chris? Hearing none. Thank you for the informative and educational presentation, Chris.
Thank you.
Next, the riveting report from Tanya and Farley on the update at what we call NCH, that being New City Hall, where the elevators now work. I expect you to confirm that.
I can confirm that. It's great. I wrote them this morning.
Hi, Tanya, thank you.
Thank you for having me, Mayor Pro Tem Bivens and council. And this is my first work session with Mr. Chapa over there instead of over here. So it's good stuff. It's good to have everybody together. It's been a little bit since I've been back in front of y'all. I appreciate all of the support and patience over the last few years here as we work through the program. We're at a very exciting point of our project, which is the majority of the city has moved over. The council chambers that is outside and our future home for these meetings is nearing completion. So a lot to cover today. I'll give some time for questions as we jump in, but feel free as always to jump in along the way. So our presentation today is going to cover the project goals. For some of you, it's been a little while since you've seen those. Project updates, cost overview and savings, path to the first council meeting, and then upcoming events. So for some of y'all, you remember these sessions way back in early 2021, when we worked with you guys, city staff, and the public to come up with project goals from which we could drive the program to make decisions against, uses basically our litmus test for if we were making the right decisions with our steering committee and otherwise. Those goals came back as an inclusive and engaging public space, maintaining the Class A look and feel of the facilities, creating an equitable, efficient, and flexible workspaces, sustainable and cost-efficient building, which is important as we drive forward, transformational delivery of city services, which we'll talk about that in a minute, and then vision for the next 50 years. So here's where we are today. So, coming out of the work that we had with the Tarrant Regional Water District and the Corps of Engineers, we are now, we were able to get our permit at the end of July of 2023 and have now been able to proceed with build of our council chambers facility. So it's a new roughly 35,000 square foot facility. It will have a public session room, a work session room. Public session room seats 250 people. Work session like this will seat 150, so significantly bigger than the space today. There's a dedicated executive session room, so if we avoid snafus like we had today, and then a number of other green room and supporting spaces. You're also seeing a very tailored and created outdoor space for the public and otherwise. So over here on the right is our plaza that'll be planned for gatherings, events, food truck events, and otherwise.
Chris, is that real or is that AI?
This is real. This was
Okay.
taken earlier this week. Could be AI. No, this one's real. And so you can, yeah, this one's real. There you go. You have my word. Okay, so. We're pouring in the new steps going up and down on this side. The roofing is complete. The chambers itself is progressing really nicely. We are putting up the new media wall today, so the projector and system and otherwise that we have here will go away. We'll have a new state-of-the-art media wall. You can see the cement pouring is happening for the plaza, but also through the new sidewalk throughout the site to create the mobility throughout the site, which is great. And then the screening on the garage over here is almost complete. So that scaffolding will be coming down shortly. So a lot of progress. I'm really proud to say that, since we cleared our 408 permitting conversation, we have been tracking to a March 2025 council meeting, and we've hit a March 2025 council meeting is what we're planning on. So that's really exciting. So we can go back to my deck here.
And let the record state the mayor has joined us.
Okay, awesome, fantastic. So as we move forward, lobby finish out was one of the things that we wanted to make happen. So you've seen, we wanted to keep a lot of that beautiful lobby space. There was a wonderful Class A facility, adding new furniture and features here for the public to sit as they come to and from, but also going up and down in the facility for the development services function. As you may recall, part of the building's plan was to queue people for development services and other functions on the lobby level first through the queue list system and then bring people up as needed, right, to really reduce congestion otherwise on that floor. And I think that plan is working really nicely to date. You also see on the far right here that the future living room of the city is coming together here. It'll have the council meetings and announcements running on it, and it's just outside the entrance to the new council chamber. So new furniture is in there and progressing along. As far as overall tower progress, so we have moved at this point in time 13 of the planned 15 floors. As you may recall, 18, the building is 18 floors, so the terrace and the lobby really no one occupies. I guess the marshals technically occupy that. We moved 10 and 11 this weekend. We have 16 and 17, which is water and diversity inclusion, happening just after the council chambers facility. So progressing along, the only floor that'll be left at the end of our project will be level 18, which is currently half occupied by a private tenant and half by our construction team. So that'll be something the city will have as a future use going forward. The floors, water 16 and 17, faced a couple different delays. Furniture has been really tough to get the last couple months from our vendor at Steelcase. That's mostly been due to a series of issues cascading from Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. The laminate factory that supplies Steelcase globally is based in North Carolina, and it was severely damaged during that, causing some significant delays. And so we've been navigating around that. I think our construction team has done a great job of trying to find other things they can do to keep the project moving in the tower specifically, but something to note for those floors. Our food service program with FUDA is currently planned to move down into the cafeteria, which is on the terrace level next to the main chambers of the building. That'll happen once the chamber facility and site construction are done. So we have the service currently running in the lobby, and it's basically temp or V1 capacity. It'll be relocating down to the cafeteria after the chambers is complete. From additional project updates, the elevators themselves, so low-rise PE8 and PE7 are now complete. So both elevators are running to and from the customer service floors, which is fantastic. Our high-rise elevators 1 through 3, as Mayor Pro Tem Bivens mentioned, is running as of yesterday. So we have new destination dispatch elevators running on a gearless system. So we'll be much more efficient and much more safe for the city going forward with the new system. And so, we'll work through some kinks this week on that as we kind of turn over the new systems. But elevators 4 through 6, which are the legacy elevators, are now under modification. And those will be closing up in the next couple next couple months as we work through those. We had some delays on the elevator side, mostly from a software integration to bridge the city's access control system and the destination driven, but we were able to work through that with the first set of elevators. So the second set of elevators will go significantly faster. So the garage elevators are our last piece that we're working through. Those are tracking to completion before the first council meeting in late March. So that'll run from the ground level all the way to the 5th floor of the parking garage. From a parking garage expansion perspective, so we're in this phase 6 down here, which is really that everything except the 5th floor is open. We're waiting on the elevators to be complete. Once those are complete, we'll be able to expand the garage to full occupancy. Today, on a daily basis, the garage is about 60 to 70% full of the existing floors, so still plenty of capacity for folks to go in and out. We anticipate to have plenty of capacity once the full garage opens. We'll be putting in the new gates and related systems towards the end of this month and the first part of March, so really by the first council meeting, you'll have a fully renovated and new garage with the expansion as well. From a rooftop lighting perspective, obviously something that we heard a lot from the public, but also from city staff and elected officials about. That project was completed just before the Christmas holiday and is now functioning. You can see a number of different lighting configurations that were done during the testing process. The new system is fantastic because it can be controlled from a web interface. I can tell you that Terrence King is a member of the property management team, and previously on the old system, he had to physically go up to the 21st floor of the tower to turn those lights on. So when TCU won on Friday night in a big game, Terrence got the call to go over there and make that happen. So he's an incredible member of the team. We're excited he gets to do it remote now. So that's now complete. There's a policy for kind of what the city accepts and puts up on those lighting components that's still in the works, and will be kind of run through CMO going forward. But some really great opportunities going forward for the city there. From a security perspective, so we've talked about security as a continually evolving function in a facility like this, and so we've come to you a couple times before about the different programs that are laid out in order to provide security to the facility, and really the answer has been a multitude of deterrents. To date, we have marshal and security team presence, advanced camera systems, state-of-the-art access control programs, the new destination-driven elevators, and then weapons detection system. So a joint effort to provide security in the facility. I'm happy to say to date, we've had really minimal incidents. We've been able to move through the facility in an efficient manner, and really the destination-driven elevators will be the next step to really drive that along. From a overall kind of security implementation perspective. So obviously you've seen the new information desk in the lobby. If you haven't been over to the new City Hall to see this, there's a new marshal sitting there at that station, or security staff presence that is really not only supporting visitors to the building, but also providing protection. But we brought that forward. We've also brought to life the new command center on the lobby, on the terrace level for security, which has visibility throughout all the cameras, and then driving with access control, panic buttons, and otherwise. There are some things we still have to do as part of bringing the facility online. We'll have the loading dock cameras, integrated intercom systems, sorry, a lot of integrated stuff, intercom systems that will be going in, and then site patrols for the marshals as well as weapons detection system for the new council chamber facility itself. One of the things that, when we set out on this project, I heard loud and clear from our elected officials as well as our public, was finding a way to engage more vendors in this community that hadn't historically been engaged in public sector projects. And I'm really proud to say that, when we set out, the city set a 30% goal for our CMAR contract with Lindbeck as our construction partner. And we are currently tracking to 39%, which is fantastic on a project of this nature, something so public and complex. It's a testament not only to the work that Lindbeck in partnership with our team has done to break up the scope into smaller pieces, but I do want to call out Christina Brooks and Gwen Wilson and a lot of the DVIN team that had worked throughout the course of this project to really work with us in partnership to reach out to the community and find ways to get people involved. So really great news there. We'll continue to update on that as we go along, but we've had more than 100 different contractors participate in this project. And so I think that's a testament to the commitment not only that y'all made to make this a community project, but to what you put on us to drive going forward. From a cost perspective, our project still continues to track against the budget that was laid out many years ago at this point. We're sitting at about $288 a square foot of work in that capacity. We're sitting right about the Class A average in the region. So continues to be a really great opportunity for the city, continues to be economically efficient, especially as we see continued inflation in new build construction, especially in North Texas. And so something that we continue to focus on, not only in the initial design, but components we're putting to help you manage it going forward. All right, so everyone's favorite part, the council chamber facility. So this is one of those things that, going through the 408 process, following a lot of the permitting regulations we had to go through, it's taking longer than anticipated. But I'm really happy to say that, we're cruising along at this point in time with our chamber. We've started our AV install and commissioning. We'll be working with the city team starting February 3rd to commission the devices on the city network. We're doing acoustic testing and refinement to make sure that everything sounds good, not only in the chamber, but for people participating remotely. We'll be doing AV team training and city secretary training the first week of March to run the new control systems and otherwise, not only for public session, but for work session and executive session. Then we'll be doing mock meetings the week of March 10th, potentially the week of March 17th as well. Finalizing the switchover so that the broadcast will run from the new facility. And then our first council meeting will be March 25th. So dress rehearsal March 24th, first council meeting March 25th. So exciting stuff. These pictures were taken from Monday of this week. So I just want to orient everyone kind of what they're seeing here. So in the upper left is the hallway into the work session, right? So you can see the wood that you guys remember from some of the original renderings. This is our new main chamber. So this is seating 250 people. We'll have 200 plus inch Samsung monitors on both sides here that will have great pixel pitch quality for folks all the way up to 90 feet back of the room. We also have hearing loop. We have ADA seating accommodations. We have a sit-stand ADA podium as well as other podium options. So, we heard from you how important being welcoming and inviting was going to be in this chamber, and I think we've really accomplished that with what's coming forward here. So excited to get y'all in there. And this bottom photo is our new work session room. So this is the new room 2020. I'm sad to say there's no columns in the middle of the room like you have here, but we're going to have a pretty ornate inlaid ceiling, as well as multiple locations for the council staff and supporting staff to see presentations. So we'll have this presentation will be running in the soffit, as well as you have visibility to 2 video walls on both sides. So lots of flexibility in that space. The hope is that large department meetings, boards and commissions, other functions can take place in that facility. And then we also have an executive session room there as well. So all things that are progressing. But key dates for you guys, like I said, March 24th will be a dress rehearsal day, and then March 25th will be that first council meeting in the new facility. All right, so upcoming events, so garage elevators and gates, will be fully complete just before the first council meeting. We'll have our ribbon cutting and first council meeting on March 25th. There'll be formal invitation and calendar placeholders and otherwise to follow. Levels 16 and 17, which is water and diversity inclusion. At this point, I'm having furniture arrival in April and hoping to get them in the May time period. And then final site work and project closeout should be in June, and that includes some of our planting and otherwise. You may recall that as a part of our 408 permit, we have some specialty grading requirements, as well as some specialty grassy swale and green stormwater things that cannot be done until post April 15th because of the planting season restrictions. So some of that will finish out, and then we'll be on our way, and it'll be your new city hall at that point in time. So what questions do you have for me?
Questions for Tanya and Jared?
Thank you for the presentation, Tanya. I'm excited about March and the ribbon cutting, and thank you to the you and the team and our staff for all the hard work that went into this project. I know we had talked about this during the tour that you provided for me. The food program in particular, I've bought food once or twice, and it was really expensive. And I can only imagine, our employees as they're working in the building who may not bring a lunch and want to get lunch from the city, and the cost be a barrier, especially for those, not making as high of a wage as we'd like to provide, and hopefully we'll get there over time. Anyways, it's not necessarily a question, but I think it's important for us as we navigate kind of going forward and establishing that program in the culinary space downstairs to think about, what our employees are being charged, and is there an opportunity in upcoming budgets for employees to get an employee discount? They are serving the city, and to pay $20, for example, for a salad is a lot. And so anyways, based on your experience, what have you seen other cities do to help employees that, that want to eat lunch on the premises?
Yeah, great point. So one thing I'll note before I answer the rest of that question is the contract that you have with Fuda, that's the vendor today, it was intentionally set up as a 1 year plus 3 1-year option type contract so that you can work through scenarios like that if there's subsidy or additional vendors or otherwise that would like to take place. So that's being continually monitored on a monthly basis on kind of performance, what feedback we're getting from city staff and otherwise. So duly noted kind of on the cost and otherwise is something that's, I know the group that's working with Fuda has had that conversation. As far as other options that exist out there, I can tell you from our experience in working with other clients around the country, food service programs in general for municipalities are really tough for a number of reasons. Number one, if you go the subsidy route, there is a pretty significant cost. Sometimes that's somewhere between $3 and $6 a meal per person per day. And you start to add that up over the course of a year, that becomes a pretty expensive subsidy. But it's something that's definitely doable, and depending on staff and otherwise, is something that could be explored in future budget cycles. The other thing that can be done as well is we've set typical thresholds with Fuda around kind of base price. Obviously, if you do add-ons and otherwise that goes above, but that's something that could be explored as well, right? If there's other lower cost options out there to support it. The one thing I will just, and Michael Crum from Public Events has been fantastic about this, and we've talked about it before, but one of the reasons that public food service programs historically don't succeed is because they're stagnant. It's the same vendor every day. The food gets old, people get sick of it, and so it kind of dies off. So it's something I think, dynamic becomes important, and so I think a model like Fuda really works, but continuing to work on not only what type of vendor, but the cost points and otherwise included is something I think is something to look at going forward.
That's really helpful. Thank you, especially with the Fuda program. And, we think of Fort Worth potentially through this program being able to kickstart restaurants right here in Fort Worth. I don't see it as a subsidy in that regard. I see it as an economic development incentive, right? And so, and also the additive effect is it helps our employees. Our employees shouldn't have to pay 1 hour worth of their wage to be able to afford to eat at the city they're serving. And so I think that's a discussion that the future council will need to have. But it's certainly one that I think that's worth having.
Yep, no, good point.
Maybe you can hook us up with the Territorial Food Bank for some food displays or pop-ups. Any other questions? I do owe you 4 Oreo cookies. I tried to pay, it wouldn't take my card.
Okay. Well, I haven't gotten a phone call about that one yet, so.
Yeah, I mean, I felt the shame when Jared was talking. Tanyan, thank you so very much.
Thank y'all, appreciate it.
We will move right along if I can see where we are on this thing. Oh, we're going back to the IRs now, I think, okay. So the first IR, any questions on 25-0030 from DJ on the Annual Development Activity Report? Going, gone. Okay, hearing none. Moving on. Monthly report on the release of area from the extraterritorial jurisdiction, the ETJ, by petition of landowner or resident. DJ, any questions on that? Ooh, you guys are easy, okay. Next one, City of Fort Worth background check process. Okay, Chris, that's screaming your name. Lilia Peoples from HR, if you don't call for it. Elizabeth, okay.
Yeah, it was actually my art, but it does scream Chris's name. You're not wrong. I just really want a brief understanding of what we do specific to jobs that relate to working with children at the city, and what type of background checks are available to us and how we can maybe improve that process.
Thank you. So today we run a general background check for all employees, new and internal, if they are switching departments. I have Victor Escobedo here with me, so he can also give a little more detail if there's any specific questions. And so with that background check, we check Social Security, we do a DMV, we do a criminal background check for the previous 7 years. and in a few other like federal and other items that kind of just encompass a full background check. If anybody is working with parks or any of the areas that have children or sensitive population per se, then we make sure that those are done more frequently. Does that answer your question or a little
I
bit
think so.
more?
So just because I see the list here, the 7-year state and county criminal record check, the 7-year national criminal history. And I know Councilwoman Bivens really worked hard on Ban the Box. And my concern is not that we're keeping people out of employment, but maybe there's certain types of offenders that we want to make sure we're keeping away from children. And so for the sex and violent offender registry, that would be is the onus on them to maintain that registry or to register, or how do we check against that? Because that's actually the one I'm most concerned of, you know, theft, petty crime, that kind of stuff. But if you've committed murder or some sort of sexual assault, I want to make sure that that box is banned from you if you're interacting with our children.
Yeah, so for the sex offender registry, we do check the registry itself. Now, if they're not maintaining that registry, it'll still come up on that search.
Okay. And what violent crimes are listed as part of that?
So it could be, it's the registry itself, it's sexual in nature. So if whatever the offense that was occurred, they're registered, if they're required to register, it was.
Oh, so it's only for sexual. So for example, if someone committed murder, if it was more than 7 years ago, that wouldn't show up on a background check?
It would show up under the Texas DPS search.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Councilmember Beck. Next, we'll hear from Robert Stearns. Notice I didn't ask if anybody had questions. Robert, you still here? This is why we squeeze the blood from the turnip. As long as you're here, we want to see your face at the podium. Robert's going to give us an overview of the TIF annual report. Thank you, Robert, and again, congratulations on that new move. What'd you say, Alan?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Bivens. I'll just get to the headline to say that the TIF districts had about a 4.9% increase over last year's value. And overall, you know, the report that the overall taxable value from all the TIFs has resulted in about $5.5 billion of increase since inception. Excuse me. So the TIFs are continuing to perform well. We will have an action item in March to terminate TIF 6. We're continuing to analyze and assess TIFs that aren't performing or have met all of their criteria. And so we're continuing to work through a few of those that we can go ahead and get off the books.
And is that the only TIF you're proposing to close?
As of right now.
Okay. Any other questions of Robert? Before you leave, Robert, let's see if there are any questions for the proposed Near West Side PID.
I don't have any questions, Robert, but if you could just spend 30 seconds letting folks know what this is and why we're doing it.
Yeah, so we have been working towards establishing a PID for the West Side. Is really to continue to support security efforts within the West 7th District, the Ambassador Program. We've been going through a petition process, have had some limited successes in getting the signatures required to establish a PID. And so the IR outlines a process where we would, one, hire a consultant to help us in that process to secure the necessary signatures for the PID. And it outlines a reduction in the PID boundary. So we have heard from some of the business owners, particularly on the northern edge of the previously proposed PID, that they had some objections to being included. So we've reduced the boundaries to exclude them from that new proposal.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Robert. Next item calls for city code updates for health, safety, and sanitation at food establishments and child care centers. Any questions of Wendy Turpin on that from the council? Moving right along. Regulations for nuisances related to portable toilets and events on residential property. Any questions from city legal or others on that? Okay. Finally, Proposed council-initiated zoning changes for certain Keller ISD properties to Community Facility Zoning District and Council District 4, 7, and 10. Any questions for LaShondra on that? Okay. All right, let's see, next item, questions regarding changes in membership on boards and commissions for February 25th. Council meeting, hearing none. Now we're back to the MNC log. Any questions on the MNC log for February 25th? That brings us to future agenda items.
I have one.
Councilmember Nettles.
I want to get an IRR presentation on the contracts for the cutting grass. I think we only have one contract citywide, and how we can explore bringing additional contractors on to keep the grass cut mowed.
Through the Parks Department?
Sure.
I have seen those mowers mow asphalt on Hemp Hill where there was no grass. So, thank you. Councilmember Hill.
Could we get an IR on actually, a follow-up to Chris's presentation with wastewater expansion and improvements?
Any other future agenda items? Councilmember Flores, I'm watching you. I see no text. Okay. Hearing none. Is there a motion to adjourn? And with that, we're out of here until,
We go to exec.
oh, we're going to go back to executive session, and hopefully it'll be a true executive session with just council members attending and staff.
So apparently. At least for some. Oh.